Welcome to Ray Tales. My name is Ray. This video will be my D&D campaign, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, 6th campaign diary. This session starts on the morning of the 4th of Marpenoth. Karn and Sadek heal a level of exhaustion from their previous day activities. Karn is still suffering from a level of exhaustion, and he decides to hang out in the tavern using his unseen servant to help clean the tavern and get it ready to be opened up. Varen goes across the alleyway to the Steam and Steel and sells an old set of leather armor. And she also asks Avi if he knew of someone that could help teach her how to cook. That surprised Avi. Indirectly, it surprised me because I wasn't expecting it. So I guess I get to figure out an NPC in the area, which shouldn't be too hard. I mean, it's Waterdeep. Buy anything in Waterdeep, so you can find somebody to help train somebody in cooking or cooking utensils. So that'll be good. I'll have to come up with a new NPC. So during this session, I also recapped what the party knows so far about the Stone of Galore. It was brought up, and I just wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page, so going forward, the campaign doesn't get derailed because players don't remember something that happened, 3 or 4 weeks ago, which is fine. I don't have a problem doing that at all. The party had a visitor to the tavern. Yagra was knocking on the door. Basically, she came to thank them for helping her out a couple of days ago and to find out when they would open and if they still, wanted a bouncer. She was willing to do the job. During the conversation, Yagra confirmed to Varen in Orc that Yagra was a member of the Zentarum, but she was a member of the faction that was trying to go legit, not the faction under the wizard Manchun. During this conversation with the party, Yagra also tells the party about the Doom Raiders that is run by Davil Starsong, and that Yagra could indirectly introduce them to Istrid, who is a moneylender, part of the Doom Raiders, and part of the new Zentarum faction in Waterdeep that is trying to go legit. I believe a question was asked of her about Froon's Brews, and the only thing that Yagra knew about that was that she knew that the owner of Froon's Brews borrowed some money from Istrid. And then she elaborated on who Manchun was. He was the leader of the Zentarum. He created the Zentarum several, almost 100 years ago, if I remember, my memory serves right. We talked about it. I ended up looking it up. Basically, run the Zentarum like he ran it when he formed it, and so that was some information that they did not know. They do know now. So now they know 3 factions that are working around in Waterdeep. 4 if you count the Open Lord. I mean, they know about the Open Lord. And they also know about Vajra. So really 5 factions total. Second chapter is kind of slow, but I think everybody's engaged. I made a note that says Tavern Coffee now has 19 gold pieces, 82 silver pieces, and 250 copper pieces. I believe they have a party fund set up, and that's what I think, because it's a coffee jar in the tavern now that I made the note looking at it. It's kind of funny. So they do have a little bit of money. Not a whole lot. Not enough to finish their renovations yet. Which, not long after Yagra left the tavern, an older human in work clothes and carrying a clipboard with some writing utensils shows up at the tavern and introduces himself as Sam the contractor, and begins to question them on how they want the tavern to be remodeled. Now, that's very interesting because expecting this to happen during this session. However, I told him, if you're not going on quests, then I have to do something else. So, basically reconnect with Yagra. Then we get to do the tavern renovation talks. Gave him a 5-minute break, so I walked away and let them talk. Ended up coming back and taking some really good notes. My initial thing that I was going to talk about on this video was I was going to go bullet point by bullet point. But I don't think I am. I think that'll make it too long, and I don't think it'll be that interesting. Right up there. Okay. I'll show all the renovations that they have come up with and that I approved. You know, they asked for some things, and I'll highlight some of these things. If you look at the list, they wanted some neat little improvements, and I decided, why not? One of the improvements was on the chandeliers. Basically, all the chandeliers look like wands with continual light on them that they can, adjust the lighting on. I thought that was kind of interesting. I said, okay, cool. Then they wanted some modernization things, so each bedroom or living space has a small container that will fill and empty with water, warm and hot. It's magic, but it'll work. And then there's some kind of signaling devices as simple as a string and a bell that can happen from the tavern to the living spaces on all floors. This list will show all that. And finally, Sam mentioned a tinker gnome that he said wasn't from around here, meaning Waterdeep, and implied that he might live further away, like not on Faerun. And just called him Binger and said that Binger had some ideas and could create things that he cannot, and told the party that he would send Binger over to their place tomorrow. We got that to look forward to in the next session. Binger the gnome, and see what he is bringing to the campaign. A little bit later in the day, the party decides that they're going to head to the Yawning Portal so they can talk, or so Anvil can talk with Obaya Uday. And finding out that she cannot cure exhaustion, not yet, and that she was actually in Waterdeep on a mission to buy magic items for her patron. Anvil shows Obaya the paper birds. She ends up buying the paper birds for 200 platinum. And then Karn, Sadek, and Zindran sell their paper birds for, not that much, but, they each got 50 platinum. And Anvil was going to split 100 platinum with the rest of the party, but the party ends up telling him to hold on to it and go purchase some better armor with it. And I believe by the end of that day, Anvil ended up purchasing his plate armor and was very happy. He's got better protection. Varen talks to Durnan and wants to send a message to Sam the contractor that they can start the renovations on the 5th of Marpanoth, which was tomorrow. And Anvil ends up paying Sam 1,000 gold pieces through Durnan. so Sam could have the funds ready and start renovations on the tavern the next day so they can get this 12-day renovation period over. The group ends up leaving the yawning portal and they head to Undercliff to do the Scarecrow mission. And it's this time as they're walking to the gate that Zendrin gets a paper bird. And it's from Mert. And Mert has tickets for Zendrin to go to the theater to meet with Mert. So at that point, the group decides that they need to head back to the Mead and Magic instead of going to the Scarecrows. Because Zendrin needs to head out and buy his fancy clothes so he could go to the theater. Zendrin finds a men's clothing store in the North Ward, and he meets Sage. And Sage is a human male with short black hair and blue eyes, who fits Zendrin for his suit. Zendrin tries to haggle Sage down in the price for the suit, fails to do so. So Zendrin ends up paying 15 gold for the suit and asks Sage if he could sell it back to him, for half price. And he said, not half price, but, probably give you 3 gold pieces if you bring it back. He says, but if you take me out to dinner, then I will give you 7 gold pieces. Suffice to say, Zendrin turned Sage down. Sage is heartbroken at the end of this evening. Anvil ends up stopping at the Yawning Portal to await Sam. Basically took the place of Durnan. And then gives the money directly to Sam. So Sam can get started on renovations the next day. Varen and Karn head back to the Mead and Magic to do research on the Scarecrow. And between the research in the library that they have and talking with Obaya, they basically learn everything about Scarecrows. They learn the weaknesses and abilities, and in doing so, Varen goes out and buys 10 flasks of oil for the Scarecrows. So it ought to be pretty interesting when they decide to go and try to find the Scarecrows. Zendrin ends up coming back to Mead and Magic with his new suit. He changes out from his armor and regular venturing clothes into his new suit and heads to the theater. He's had a play about Tiamat, and during the intermission, Zendrin gets an invite by a gentleman named Mert, who offers him membership into the Harpers and his first mission. All of this based on Renard Neverember's word that Zendrin was a pretty good person. Zendrin must find a talking mayor and ask her about Zentarum operatives. How that works with all the other missions, I don't know how they're going to do it, so we'll find out in session 7. So after the play, Zendrin ends up heading home to the Mead and Magic, and then tells the rest of the party about their new mission. And then that's where we stopped. And I believe the party had a long rest. So the next session tomorrow will pick up on the morning of the 5th of Marpanoth. They have 2 missions to complete, and a visitor is probably going to come to the tavern. I'm having a good time doing these little videos, so I hope to continue them. Maybe I'll get better with it. Session 7 tomorrow. And hopefully we can get their tavern completed and move on with the story. of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Thank you for watching.